thank you for being here. This is the 2014 Tom Green County Contested Candidates Forum hosted by Conexion San Angelo. Conexion is proud to offer this as a community service, though I do want to say that Conexion does not endorse or support any political party or candidate. My name is Lawland McClellan Fee, and I'm a staff member of Conexion, and I have the honor of serving as MC at this event tonight. So, first off, let's start our event with prayer and pledges to both the American and the Texas flag. And Mr. Sanchez, Jim Sanchez, if you will lead us in that.
Well, will you bow your heads in prayer, please? Our Heavenly Father, in Jesus' name, Lord, we thank you for this opportunity as we gather tonight in this forum with these candidates that represent here for discussion. Lord, we thank you so much. We ask for your blessing upon this meeting, and Father, that it may be go well. And Lord, we thank you for the opportunity to be here, the privilege to be Americans, to vote in the coming elections, and bless the military people overseas that protect us, Father, and give us the freedom and the right and the opportunity to vote. And we thank you for this in Jesus' name. Amen. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now for the Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Now, I would like to introduce Mr. Gregorio Gutierrez, the founder, owner, publisher, and CEO of Conexion, and host for the evening.
I will say thank you so much for staying together. This is not the plan, this is not the idea, this is the responsibilities for each individual living here in San Angelo and Tom Green County. So I'm appreciated to support him for all candidates. They vote depending who you are elected in each position. So I want to say thank you so much, everybody, and especially to the medias, because the medias is the important connection with the rest of the community. So for the candidates, thank you so much for accepting to the invitation. Professor, thank you so much, Angelo State University, in supporting your presence here. And my staff, I'm very blessed, I'm very privileged to give to the small group workers for San Angelo. It's a very limited people working in Conexion, but it's a the big hard working for San Angelo. And especially to Lylan, thank you so much. Jim, thank you so much for investing your time, investing to your vision, supporting San Angelo. I'm saying thank you, Araceli. Everything is happening in Conexion, is your responsibility. So thank you for working together with Denise and Yvette. Sorry. So for my part, thank you so much for staying together with me. Soy el más humilde de sus amigos. Me siento muy honorado, me siento muy bendecido de que ustedes piensen en su familia, piensen en su comunidad, piensen que esta es nuestra tierra, esta es nuestra casa. San Angelo es mi familia. You are my family. Welcome. Thank you so much.
We do have a special guest here, Mayor Dwayne Morrison, and I would like to invite you up to make a few remarks.
And it is a pleasure to be here tonight with y'all. These are so very important. I know when I was running for mayor 2 years ago, a year and a half ago. I think we did 13 of these. And I never had a lot of money, so there wasn't a lot of ads that I could buy. And I depended on these free forums to get my message out and to meet people. So I think these are wonderful. Gregorio, I thank you, buddy, for putting this on, for taking the time. This is very good of you. And I spent a lot of time with Connection back when I was running. You're very good to me. So we've got some good candidates. Looking forward to this. Thank you for being here. Thank you for putting it on, and giddy up.
All right, and let me acknowledge any elected officials that are here with us. If you would please stand as an elected official and just introduce your name and your office. We would like to acknowledge you and thank you for being here.
David Jones,
Sure.
Sheriff, Tom Green County.
County Clerk.
Contreras, Great Creek School Board.
Thank you for your service to our community. Our distinguished moderator for this evening is Dr. Ed Olson, retired professor and head of the government department at ASU. Just to give you a little bit of background about Dr. Olson, he was instrumental in developing the ASU Honors Program. And he's very brave. Since 1993, has taken 15 groups of ASU students abroad on study trips to England, Germany, Scotland, Greece, and Italy. He's currently, he said he retired and that lasted for about 2 weeks a few years ago. But he's currently back on board at ASU as the study abroad coordinator and part-time faculty. So we are definitely blessed to have Dr. Olson here to moderate this event for us. He received his doctorate and undergraduate degrees from the University of California. His major field of study is American politics, with teaching specialties in, but not limited to, the American political process, Texas politics, campaigns and elections, and the history of freedom. Dr. Olson has had articles published in the Texas Journal of Political Studies, Practicing Texas Politics, American Journal of Political Science, and Western Political Quarterly, among others. In our community, he has served in numerous political capacities, including moderating the 2007 mayoral race and the citizens' debate over an elected police chief. He also serves as political analyst for KLST News and served for the San Angelo Priority 1 campaign, as well as working on and managing other political campaigns for local, statewide, and national elections. So again, Dr. Olson, thank you for being here and moderating this forum for us. Now, just to lay out the format of this event, let me please ask you to other than media, of course, please put away any cameras and turn off your cell phones. This forum cannot be taped or broadcast without permission from Conexion, and no portion of the forum may be used as part of campaign materials. Now, audience, this is your opportunity to learn more about these candidates and their plans if they are elected. So, I do ask that you keep your questions brief and to the point. We won't have a microphone for the audience, so when you have a question, please raise your hand, be recognized by the moderator before you start asking your question. And then candidate, if that question is addressed to you, please repeat. You will have a microphone at your table. So please repeat the question so that we are sure the audience has heard the question and that you understand what is being asked. Now, we also decided that a coin flip would be a fair way to see who spoke first. So we will do that, and then for the opening remarks, you'll each be given 3 minutes for opening remarks. Now, we also will conclude the forum with you given 3 minutes for closing remarks, and that will be in reverse order. So whoever speaks first to intro will speak last to conclude. Let's see. Responses to questions. You'll have 2 minutes for response times. Our timekeeper, Mr. Jim Sanchez, who sits in front of you at the turquoise table, will flash you a sign at 30 seconds. Now, we do have you grouped by race, though. Well, first let me introduce the candidates. This Rick Bacon. The race is County Commissioner, Precinct 3. So Rick Bacon is the incumbent, sitting here. His challenger, Cedia Flores, is not able to make the forum. She had a death in the family and had to travel out of state. The next race is the Justice of the Peace, Precinct 1. So incumbent Kay Longest, challenger Joanne Martinez. So obviously Rick won't have to flip a coin. We don't have to do that. But Miss Longest and Miss Martinez will flip a coin to see who goes first. And the reason that they're seated this way, we try to be as fair as possible. The county commissioner race is the first race on the ballot. So Mr. Bacon has the first seat. This race has the first seat, followed by the Justice of the Peace race. All right. So hopefully, candidates, are there any questions about that? Okay. All right. So I have presented the candidates, and Mr. Sanchez, if you'll come forward, and we'll go ahead and flip the coin for the Justice of the Peace race. And challenger, you have the opportunity to call for heads or tails, and if you get the flip, you get to go first in your remarks.
Uh-oh.
Now you gotta find it.
It is tails.
Okay,
All right. So Ms. Longest goes first then? Okay. All right, when we get to that race. All right, so now I shall turn the forum over to Dr. Olson.
I guess I'm the one that's supposed to keep this in order, and I'll be shutting people up once their time is finished. This is a little bit of an unusual kind of candidate forum that I've worked on, because it's the first one that we're relying mostly on the audience to pose questions to the various candidates. And I will recognize you. Just raise your hand. And as stated, we want you to stand up and speak up as much as you can. Be as clear asking the question as you possibly can. The candidates then will repeat the question as noted, and then we'll get into the responses. If there is no participation or limited participation from the audience, then the candidates are going to be very unlucky, because I have a few questions that I may pose. But hopefully this is a people's forum, and hopefully the participants here, candidates, but particularly the audience, have come to find out where these candidates for these important local offices stand on the issues. I'm very proud to be here to represent Conexion, and with that, let's get started. We would like to ask, we want opening statements first. So, yes, Mr. Bacon. Yes. And you will have 3 minutes.
Thank you very much. Thank you for attending tonight. We appreciate you may listen to what some of us have to say. I am Rick Bacon. I am your County Commissioner for Precinct 3. And first of all, I wanted to offer my condolences to the Flores family for her loss, and we pray the safe travel for them as they travel out of state on this. And our prayers go out to her and her family, and that's unfortunate. I'd like to start off with a verse of scripture that I usually try to, I guess you'd say, live by. It's Colossians 3:23 that says, "Whatsoever ye do, do it heartily as to the Lord and not unto men." And what I've tried to do as your county commissioner is realize the responsibility that we have in the commissioner's court, and the responsibility that we have to the constituents in our individual precincts. Of course, Each precinct is individual. We each have our own philosophies and ideas, and we each have opportunities that are presented to us on a daily basis in differing manners. But one of the things I like to let everyone know is that I pride myself on being a people's candidate, and one that when you talk grassroots, you don't get much more grassroots than me. A year ago, I was working on a computer and got a phone call, and so I feel like the Lord put me in this position. I feel like this is a position that for whatever purpose He has, that I'm to serve, and to serve with all of my heart. And anyone who knows me and has worked with me knows that I give 110% in whatever I do, whether it's been in my 21 years in military service or my 21 and a half years with Great Creek ISD as their technology director, coming in early, staying late, working weekends, whatever it takes. I'll do what it takes to get the job done. I also want everyone to understand I don't feel like I'm a commissioner just for this constituents of Precinct 3, but I'm commissioner for the entire county. So it doesn't matter what precinct you live in. I generally will be in the office Monday through Thursday, in the mornings especially if I don't have meetings, or if I don't have to, I'm not doing county business out checking roads or things like that. But you can stop by my office anytime. It doesn't matter what precinct you're in. I'm going to respond to you, and I'm going to make sure that you're taken care of. One of my pet peeves is inefficiency in county government. It bothers me immensely. I guess with my military background, I think things should run smoothly and be efficient. And some of the things that I've tried to do in helping our constituents is making sure that they don't get the runaround when they come to the county, that they only make one stop. And if it's my office, that's the one stop that they get. And I appreciate very much your time and your effort, and appreciate your vote on November 4th.
Yes, this goes first. You want to point it out.
Good afternoon. First, I'd like to thank Gregorio and all of his staff here at Conexion Hispana for the opportunity to speak to you this evening. And I'd also like to thank you, Gregorio, and all your staff for the job that you do each and every week, bringing the community your weekly newspaper. Primero le quiero dar las gracias al señor Gutiérrez y todos de sus empleados por la oportunidad de estar aquí esta tarde, y también darle las gracias por el trabajo que hacen en traer a la comunidad el periódico que traen cada semana. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Joanne Martinez. I am running for Justice of the Peace for Precinct 1. I'm going to keep this pretty short. I decided to run for this position for just a couple of reasons. I believe that the people of Precinct 1 deserve the opportunity to be able to vote for their elected officials. And with my name on the ballot, I offer the people of Precinct 1 that opportunity and the power to choose and vote for their elected officials. Second, I want to bring professionalism and honesty and integrity back to the office. I believe that this is missing from this office, and I will hold that office if I am elected and serve my constituents with dignity and with respect. My office will be run with professionalism and accountability. I will bring forth creative ideas and new leadership and supervision style. I will lead by example to restore the professionalism that is currently deserving of this justice court, and my office staff will follow my lead in providing quality service to all of the public. As the Justice of the Peace, you will have the opportunity to know me as a judge. I will have an open door policy, and I will be available for you and for all the constituents of Tom Green County. I believe that by implementing this type of policy, I can remove a disconnect that is currently felt in this precinct. Thank you.
All right, I'm going to speak for just about 3 minutes.
My name is Kay Longest, and I am your current Justice of the Peace in Precinct 1. And I just want to tell you a little bit about myself before I get started. I've got 3 grandchildren, 2 boys and a girl. And I just want to, I've got 4 great-grandkids and 1 on the way. And I raised one of those little guys, and he's a little redheaded fellow, about 5 years old. And so anyway, he keeps me busy, keeps me on my toes, and keeps me going. I'd like to also tell you that I am your Justice of the Peace in Precinct 1, and I am running for re-election. And I'd like to tell you that about some of my experience. I've got 38 years as a public servant to the citizens of San Angelo. 21 years of law enforcement with the Tom Green County Sheriff's Office and the San Angelo Police Department. Excuse me. Also, I did 13 years, nearly 14 years, as an investigator with the Tom Green County Attorney's Office in the Domestic Violence Unit. I have been your Justice of the Peace for nearly 4 years. I also have the knowledge and experience of processing civil cases, small claims, debt claims, and the numerous other duties that this office calls for. And I believe that I've got the experience and the qualifications necessary to do this job. I'd also like to tell you just a few things that the Justice of the Peace Office does, and they handle small claims up to $10,000. I hear debt claims up to $10,000. I also hear eviction cases. The tenant remedies and repairs, we handle those, and that's to do such things as logouts, and you take care of that with your office. Also, the Justice of the Peace conducts inquests into deaths that occur outside the hospital, such as motor vehicle accidents, deaths, murders, natural deaths. We're also called to the hospital if death has occurred at the hospital and they've been there for less than 24 hours. Also, we do magistrate work. We magistrate defendants when they're in jail, and we tell them what their rights are, read them rights, tell them what they've been charged with, and we also set their bonds. We process and hear cases on tickets that have been issued in Precinct 1, and we issue search and arrest warrants, and we also issue felony and misdemeanor warrants. And that's most of what I do, and we have to do this by the laws of the state of Texas. Oh, okay, all right, thank you. Okay, and also, before I finish, I would love to thank Gregorio and his staff for having us here. You know, this is an opportunity that we don't get very often. And as a citizen of the United States, I think it is imperative that you get involved in your local races and your local politics, and if you believe in something with your heart, that you actually stand up for it and you go for it. And again, I want to thank everyone for showing up tonight.
Okay, now we get to put them on the hot seat. As we stated before, you may ask a question to an individual candidate, or you can pose a general question that each of the candidates will respond to. Who wants to be first?
Nobody wants to go.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Bacon, what do you see are the biggest issues facing Tom Green County?
The question is, what do I see are the biggest issues facing Tom Green County? I think the most important one right now is water. Those that live in Great Creek have been under a drought stage 4 for a long time. The city of San Angelo got a reprieve when we had the big rains back in May, and as where these built back up, they went from having 12 months left of water to over 36 months. That didn't help the constituents in Tom Green County who depend on well water. So one of the things that I've initiated is I've started investigating the possibility of desalinization plant in Tom Green County to help desalinate water and use that as a source. There's a ton of water below us. It's brackish, which means it's kind of saline solution, but it's not as salty as seawater. So I went to a conference a few weeks ago and got some more information on this and found out that when you have low rates of concentration of saline in the water, you can get about a 98% recovery on that when it comes up. So for every 10 gallons you pump up, you're going to get 9 gallons of fresh water out of that. There is a lot here in Tom Green County. We need to run some more testing. The city did some about 10 years ago. I've got those reports, and I've contacted an engineer. I've also talked to Representative Darby to help, because your rural water corporations don't have the funding that the city has in order to do these kind of testing and well drilling that you have to have. And so I've asked him to see if he could help us in some way to try to get funding for that. So I feel like right now that's probably our most important. If you don't have water, you don't have life, and you don't have growth, and you can't support your industry. Thank you.
Who wants to be the next brave soul? Must be some questions out there.
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Bacon, I think you've had more ideas in a short period of time you've been up there than all the commissioners I've been here that represented me. But I'd like to know what you can do to form a coalition to get some of your ideas to fruition, like the saltwater stuff. And how can we do that and get us together as a community and you taking that lead?
Good question. The question is, what can we do to form coalitions and try to get together to move forward on the water issue? And that's a very interesting question, and it's a very difficult one, simply because rural water districts are their own entity. And so you have these pockets of water districts scattered throughout the county and throughout the state who kind of have they're called municipal utility districts, or MUDs. And they have elected boards, and so they are a taxing entity. They can assess fees for the water that they're supplying to you, but they don't have the capability to go out and really get funding that would be needed in order to do that. And so my plan is right now is working with the Upper Colorado River Authority, and then our local Concho Rural Water district out in Great Creek, and I think there's Dove Creek and Red Creek. There's several of them, but I want to try to form those, get those together to see exactly how we can propose to come up with an idea on how to process that and proceed with that.
Thank you. Somebody else? Yes, ma'am.
My question is to Ms. Martinez. You said something about the Office of the Justice of the Peace, this particular precinct, lacking integrity and something else. Could you speak on that, please, to explain that?
Regarding the integrity of the Office of Justice of the Peace for Precinct 1 at this time. And as far as my comments on that, when I talk about the integrity of the office lacking, I specifically mean that there have been things that have occurred in that office that really need to be addressed as far as the integrity, whether it is inappropriate behavior that has happened on Judge Longus's watch, or whether it is falsification of timesheets, or any of that type of behavior that has been found out to be true. That's the type of behavior that I say lacks in integrity, because that office needs to be respected. It is an elected office, and it does need to be held to those higher standards.
Follow-up there, or a question for somebody else?
Yes, I would like for Kay to respond to that.
Okay, I'm going to respond to that question about the integrity of my office. Excuse me. I think what Ms. Martinez is referring to is that I had an employee that had worked for me for several years. She had actually worked for Mr. Martinez when he was here. I was gone for some time. My granddaughter came in from Florida, and I took some time off. And when I came back, they had done, the timesheets were done, and I had signed the timesheets. And I got told later on, just shortly thereafter, that this particular employee had kind of messed up with the timesheet. So I did some investigation, and I found out that it was a true fact that this certain employee had falsified a timesheet. So when I found that out, I immediately terminated that employee. That employee no longer works for Tom Green County. That employee is, as far as I'm concerned, will never work for Tom Green County. I did what I had to do, which broke my heart because this employee was actually valuable to me and this office. But when you do something like that, you have to take action, and I took action immediately.
Another question? Stand up, please. Yeah.
We have heard Ms. Longis's qualification of 38 years in law enforcement. What qualifies you for this position?
So the question is to me.
Yes.
The question is what qualifies me for this position based on, I do not have 38 years in law enforcement, obviously, but I do have, under the requirements for this position, all you need is a high school diploma. I have attended Angelo State University. I've also attended American Commercial College. I studied administrative assistant program at American Commercial College. I studied communications and marketing at Angelo State. I've had several years of management experience, office management experience, administrative experience, customer service experience, and it doesn't qualify me for the job being the wife of a former justice of the peace, but it does make me familiar with the job duties, and it does allow me that insight, so I'm not going in blindly. Thank you.
Let's see, there's about 40 people here. Shouldn't there be 40 questions?
My question is to Commissioner Bacon. Commissioner, because you are an elected official, your opinion is elevated. It means a lot. It means a lot to me. And even though you may not have direct jurisdiction over the question I'm going to ask you, I still would like your opinion. Because in your comments, opening comments, you did say that you want to represent all the people, not just Precinct 3, which I admire that and I agree with that. My question is this. Well, it's two questions. First, I don't know if you're familiar with the sand transport depot that's being proposed for the middle of San Angelo. My question is, even though I know you don't have any jurisdiction, because you are an elected official and we respect your opinion on issues such as this, what's your take, what's your opinion on the sand transport depot?
Question is, what is my opinion on the sand transport depot that's being proposed in San Angelo? My understanding is that is over by, if you're not familiar with the issue, there's been a proposal to put in a sand depot, which are 18-wheelers that haul sand out to the fracking, used for fracking in the oil field. And so you've got 18-wheel trucks that are heavy loaded trucks that are going to be loading up with sand. The sand will be delivered by rail. There's a railroad track that runs over there, and it's close to where Mayfield Paper is, off of a couple of blocks off of Bryant. Hill Street. I didn't know the exact location, but my concern with that is that if the city ordinances dictate that it's feasible or that it's possible or that it would be classified as light commercial and you have those policies in place, sometimes you have to take a look at those and become a realist on what happens with that. There are some issues of air quality, and there's also issues of increased transportation with the heavy trucks coming in and out of that area. I don't think there's anyone in this room that's traveled down Cohenheim and 8th Street periodically. And we already know what the traffic is down those streets. You're going to be putting this heavy 18-wheel traffic out in that same area. So I would think we would want to take that into consideration as far as the impact it's going to have on the community. So from that standpoint, I I would say I would basically be against it simply because you've got air quality issues and you've got heavy-duty transportation running down through there. Again, as was stated, I don't have jurisdiction in that area. It's within the city limits, and so the city is responsible for that.
It should be about 40 more. Yes, ma'am.
I'd ask Ms. Martinez, any other integrity issues regarding the office that's been held by, I don't have my glasses on, by...
Ms. Longus?
Yeah.
The question is, are there any other integrity issues currently that I'd like to address as far as happening in the office of Precinct 1? Basically, the other integrity issues that I can personally say I have an issue with are the fact that when people talk to me about the office of Precinct 1 and things that are happening in Precinct 1, I get things like they're never there. The phones are ringing and nobody's there to answer them. The office is always closed. I go and file paperwork for an eviction suit, and I'm having to follow back up with them because they're not calling me on a court date. Things that I believe the office should be taking care of, not the constituents. They're issues that I've had other professional people tell me. I go and try to file paperwork on bonds or other type of things that have to be done in that office, and they're telling me the office is chaotic. I'm typing letters from my home. We're filling out forms from my home. I'm doing work for Precinct 1 already. And if that office was being run the way it was supposed to be and with the professionalism and integrity that it's supposed to have, then I wouldn't have to be doing that for my home.
Well, that's not part of the rules. If somebody wants to ask her a question.
I will. Kate, would she respond to that?
Okay, I think that the question is, are there any other integrity questions or responses? First of all, we've got 2 lines that come into that office. Those lines ring constantly. And if you get the answering machine, that means that we're more than likely on the phone. You have to keep calling back because we do not have an answering machine that we can take messages, because that would be all we were doing all day long. Our office does close occasionally. We are not closed all the time. I don't know what Ms. Martinez is talking about her filing paperwork. I know that Mr. Martinez has been in my courtroom 2 or 3 times with someone helping them on an eviction, that's great, because most of the time the people that he's been in there with do not speak English, and which is wonderful, because I think that if you cannot speak English, if you've got someone that can come down there with you to represent you, that's awesome. If you come down there, I've got 2 clerks, and both of them speak Spanish. I've got one that is excellent at speaking Spanish. I've got a constable that speaks Spanish. He helps out. And also, if you're in my courtroom, and I actually stopped court the other day and did a continuance on my own motion because the defendant could not speak Spanish. We hired a person that could come in there and interpret and speak Spanish. The county pays for it, which I think is awesome, because, the people that don't speak Spanish are at a disadvantage, and I think that even the defendants have the right to be represented. And as far as the other stuff, that I don't know what kind of integrity that Ms. Martinez is talking about, because I'm going to tell you something. I wouldn't put 38 years of law enforcement or my career on the line for anyone.
Yes, ma'am.
My question is to Mrs. Martinez. I'm a little confused because of everything I've been reading in the paper or hearing if I see clips on TV. But tonight, I'm able to hear more of what you can bring to the precinct. But a lot of times, you're always talking about Mrs. Longus and the things that she does wrong, and I don't know if, do we have facts that we can go and look this up, or is this, it seems more like hearsay, and what concerns me is that if you do make the justice of the peace, you're going to be meeting with people, you're going to be in the courtroom. What kind of integrity are you going to bring? Because most of this has just been about going after your opponent and not really saying all about you and what you can do. And it's, you even said that your people are talking to you and you're having to do things at home. That's more like hearsay, or are there facts or things us as a public can know besides just.
So the question is, are there any facts that you can go back and look to?
Yes, and also about how do you think with your integrity that you bring to this, because you have to have that. You have to keep the secrets. You can't, when you go out on runs or things, you can't come back and tell people everything like that. That's confidential and in the courtroom. And I was just wondering how you will handle that.
Okay, so as far as the facts, everything is open record. You can go and check at the county office and everything is open record. The timesheet falsification was not a single timesheet falsification, it was a 3 times falsification. And I was under the impression also that it was a one-time thing, but the news media did do the open records and they did discover that it was 3 times, not just once. And as far as the integrity that I would bring to the office, I would base that on that I will be at work, just like this is going to be my full-time job. This is going to be my 8 to 5. This is going to be the people that I represent are not just the Spanish-speaking, or I'm going to be representing the entire constituents of Tom Green County, and everything that I will be doing will be confidential. Everything that I will be bringing to the office will be handled with professionalism and in that manner.
On something, and this is for Ms. Kalonis. I don't see that issue as an integrity issue. I own Freight Management Company, it's a rental company, and I'm always helping people fill out whatever they need. I look at that as a public service, which you're saying it's public service as opposed to an integrity issue. I don't think so.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Martinez, could you tell us where the majority of your campaign funds have come from for donations?
The question is, where have the majority of my campaign funds come from? It's been a variety of donations from party and friends and family and my own funding. I've done campaign fundraisers. I mean, just the general basic way to raise funds for campaigns. I've had a barbecue brisket fundraiser. I've sold dinner plates. I mean, whatever I've had to do to raise funds.
I have one question for you. This Battleground Texas, have you received any money from them?
No, sir, I have not.
You have not?
I have not.
Okay.
I have not received money from Battleground Texas, nor have I received money from any kind of organization as far as that goes.
Okay.
Sir, this is for Commissioner Bacon. The commissioners are in charge of the budget. Do you think there's money in the budget to give the Office of the Justice of the Peace another line? Maybe 2. That's question. That's question 1. Question 2 is, do you foresee the lowering of the tax rate? Since property values have risen over the last 6 years here in San Angelo by 20, 30, 40% in some cases, we are already taxed higher than Midland, Odessa, Taylor, Lubbock counties. So we're the highest tax county in a comparable area. So do you foresee the taxes going down, the tax rate?
I'm glad you clarified taxes versus tax rate.
Tax rate.
Because we have absolutely no control over appraisals. Even though the appraisal district says Tom Green County Appraisal District, that's in reference to the county, not as part of county government. It's totally separate. We did lower the tax rate this year during the budget cycle, and I'll be honest, when it comes to telephone systems, when we don't know that there's a problem, it's kind of hard to work on those, and that was brought to my attention today, so we'll be looking into that. I'll let you know that personally from my perspective. I did phone systems for 20 years with Great Creek ISD, so I'll definitely be checking that out tomorrow. As far as the tax rate, that's a very difficult question to answer, because you try to look at what you have to deal with as far as your total funds available to keep all of the programs. We're responsible for maintaining all of the court systems for the county. We fund the sheriff's department. We fund the county library. We have all of these entities that need to be funded, and they all have employees that would like to make a decent salary. As in most instances with government, your salaries are around 70–75% of your budget. And so if you want to pay a decent salary, you have to try to weigh that with what your taxes are bringing in. And we look at that overall situation. We did this year, we looked at it, and actually when we did budget this year, we started the budget process off with a lower tax rate. We had already lowered it a penny, and we operated off of that lower tax rate estimated revenues for doing that. As the industry and economy continues to boom in this area, definitely every year we will take a look at that. And I can offer some other comments, but I ran out of time.
Not quite. Another question. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Bacon, who appoints the appraisal board, the members of the appraisal board?
That's a very good question. I haven't been asked that, and I don't know. I will find out.
If you can answer it.
Taxing entities, all of the taxing entities have a certain number of votes, and they elect.
Thank you, Liz. I remember now, because when I was working, I remember now, when I was working at Great Creek, I remember board meetings where the board members on the school board had to send in, they get a letter with nominations, who's going to serve on the appraisal district, and then they cast votes. So all of the taxing entities around the county do that, and they vote on those members. Thank you, Liz. Appreciate it.
Is it one per taxing entity, or is it proportional?
As I recall, and I may defer to Ms. McGill, but you get so many votes for the entity, so, and I can't remember if it was based on population.
It's proportional.
Or proportional, but somehow the amount of taxes that you raise, you get so many votes.
Another question for our panel. Do I get to ask my first one?
Can I make clarification on something?
I think so.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify that Ms. Martinez said that this happened on 3 occasions. It was one time and it happened for 3 days, and I was gone those 3 days. I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay, Ms. Martinez, since not a question posed to her, would you like to?
I don't have a response for that. I'm going off of what the other news media reported. I personally have not gone to check the open records.
Okay. Mr. Baker, your opponent can't be here tonight, as we know, but she did raise a question about the pay raise that county commissioners received, and knowledge that you did not introduce this, but she wanted to know what you think about those raises.
The question is pay raises that were granted to two elected officials that were out of context with the pay raises we gave the rest of the county employees and elected officials. Real briefly, the county court, commissioners court, sets the salaries based on the budget. We will set those salaries, and we do set the salaries for elected officials. Once those salaries are posted, there is a grievance period that kicks in for, I think, 10 days, and they have an opportunity to post a grievance. If they elect to post a grievance, then a grievance committee is formed. The court does have a little bit of latitude on how that committee was formed, and back in, I believe, February or March, January, we determined then that at the grievance process, we would allow a 9-member committee selected from the grand jury pool to serve as that committee. We did have 2 elected officials who filed a grievance, and that hearing was convened. They presented their cases. Judge Floyd was the presiding officer over that. He was a non-voting member. He just moderates the session. After everyone has heard the grievance, the 9 members cast votes. If it's a unanimous decision, if all 9 members vote in favor of the elected official, by statute, by state law, we have no recourse. The salary increase is granted. If one person had voted no, it would have come out of that committee as a recommendation, and the Commissioners Court could have acted on that. We could have accepted it or refused it and kept it the same.
You want me to ask another? Ms. Martinez, you have raised the issue about youth in punishment. You spoke about an alternative to the kind of punishment that youths are dealt with. Could you talk about that alternative? Some of the alternatives.
The question is alternatives to youths and punishment that is handed down to the youths. It would be ideal that if I were elected and that I would have the opportunity to allow the youth the opportunity to do some sort of community service that doesn't involve just picking up trash off the street. I think a lot of times we need to take a look at the circumstances that these people are needing assistance and they're needing help, and oftentimes it's just a help up. And by finding ways and offices and businesses that are willing to allow these children, these youth, to be in their businesses and learn a little bit of a trade or a little bit of a skill to give them that help up, and not necessarily just have them incarcerated or doing community service where it's just picking up trash, because we can all pick up trash. But to actually give them the opportunity to have something that will help them in the future, I think would be ideal.
Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
Is that the case where it is now, I guess SK, all the community services for the youth that, I guess the youth detention is just pick up trash?
No, ma'am. She wanted to know if that was what we did now. I have never had a kid in my courtroom that I sent out to pick up trash. No, ever. And I will never. Our juvenile system has got a set of laws that we have to follow. And we follow those laws to the T. If I get a juvenile in there and I sentence them to community service, it is not picking up trash. It's out there helping with the animals at the animal shelter, or it's at a church, or it's actually the soup kitchen. They do learn something. They are not out there picking up trash ever, because first of all, there is no place out there for them to pick up trash. But no, I work with juveniles. I'll tell you what, I think that they need breaks every once in a while. If they've not committed a bad crime, the punishment for them is reasonable. But, and another thing that I do is you can fine them for quite a large sum of money. But I've also found out that the parents pay the fine, not the kids. I make the kids do community service, so their parents are not paying that fine.
I was just wondering, Mrs. Longus, so, I'm sorry, I just might not understand, but, so what you're saying, there's already laws made up, is that correct? I mean, or is that your job, or would be your job at Precinct 1 where you make up the rules? But you're saying you don't, that it's handed down to you and then you make a judgment, is that correct?
Well, no, well, she's going to know if I make up my own stuff, which I don't. No, there are laws that we have to follow, and whether it be, you know, driving while intoxicated while a minor, or minor in consumption, or even someone that got a ticket. No, there are laws that we have to follow. We cannot deviate from those laws, and I guarantee you what, if I deviate from those laws, the state of Texas is going to come back, and they're going to come back hard on me. So if it says that they have to do community service, it tells me how many hours they have to do. And I have to follow the laws. There's no getting around that. And like I say, juveniles that come in, if it's minor consumption, I try to steer them away from ever drinking again, because, you know, a lot of our kids get killed in drunk driving accidents. I have been to numerous deaths, and it breaks my heart when I see a child out there that's been killed because of someone that's driving drunk. I want to steer them away from that if at all possible.